So today we are going to work on aggregate planning. So far we have worked with kind of logistic model, employee scheduling problems, and today we are going to work with another example of the planning. Compared to those examples, it's a little difficult. It takes a little time. There are so many items and factors that you should include in this model. So the objective in this model is to minimize the cost. We have costs for the inventory management, for hiring and firing employees, and overtime hours, regular working hours, and the cost of those items. And at the end, we want to combine all these factors to be able to minimize the cost. So now please open this example, 14.5, aggregate planning at source step, sure step, and try to solve that problem. Its file is named aggregate planning 1. I know it's a tough question, but it is worth spending some time on this kind of examples. Raw material and labor. So first we need to identify or break down the cost into these elements and then see how we can minimize these costs. Okay. So during the 4-month short step, company must meet the following demands. At the beginning of month 1, 500 pair of shoes are on hand. We have 500 in stock, or our inventory is 500. And short step has 100 workers. 1,500 is paid per month, which is the labor hours of regular time. Each worker can work up to 160 hours a month before he or she receives overtime. So for labor, we have regular time and overtime. And overtime. The worker can work up to 20 hours of overtime per month and is paid $13 per hour for overtime labor. It takes 4 hours of labor and $15 of raw material to produce a pair of shoes. For each pair of shoes, we need $13 per hour, $15 raw material, and 4 hours of labor. Workers can be hired and fired. Each hired worker costs $1,600 and each fired worker costs $2,000. And the cost of holding inventory is $3 per shoe, per pair of shoes. So the objective is to develop an optimization model that relates workforce and production decision to monthly cost, and we want to minimize the monthly cost. So now let's follow these steps to develop our model. Aggregate planning 1. Okay, so these are the input information: initial inventory of shoes, initial number of workers, regulatory hours, and etc. So first we need to determine our decision variables. These two are decision variables: workers hired and fired. We want to see how many workers we need to meet the demands of the customers. So I'm going to color it orange. And what's the other? I think enter the input and create range name listed, producing hiring a plan for any trial value for the pair of shoes, produce each month and overtime. I think a pair of shoes produced could be the next decision variable. And overtime hours and overtime hours used for each month. So the next one is going to be overtime labor hours used. So these are the decision variables. And now we need to connect our variables, define the formulas, and connect all input and objective variables to the decision variables. Let me double check to see if I'm on the right track. Where is the solver? Workers hired, workers fired, overtime labor hours used, and shoes produced. Okay, used and shoes produced. Yeah, these are the decision variables. Now we need to define the formula for these cost elements. Workers from previous month. For month 1, we have initial number of workers, 100 workers. So this is going to be equals B5. Workers and hired and fired, we leave it blank so that the solver can determine the optimal values for these decision variables, and workers available after hiring or firing, that equals workers from previous month plus workers hired minus workers fired equals B17 plus B18 minus B19. And then we can copy this one to the next month. Okay. Regular time hours available. For the regular times available, we need to multiply the number of workers, multiply this by regular hours per month, this one, equals B6, each employee can work 160 hours per month, times total number of employees after hiring and firing, B20. And now we can copy it to the other month. We leave this one blank because this is our decision variable. Maximum overtime labor hours available. Maximum overtime labors per month is 20, and maximum and the number of employees is this one. So the maximum overtime labors hour is going to be B maximum overtime B7 times workers after hiring and firing, B20. Let's double check these formulas. B7, B20, B6, B7, B20. Yeah, right. Total hours for production. Is that correct? B6 times B20 for regular time. Let me let's see. It's a tough question. It has a lot of details. Regular time hours available. We have to multiply regular workers per month times the workers available after firing. B7, B20. Yes, correct. Production capacity, B6, B20. Regular hours. This equals B 6 times B20. And the total hours for production. Can copy to the end of the line. Choose produced. This is a decision variable. Production capacity. 22, B27. Let's see. B7 times B20, B25. Okay. B25. Production capacity, because each worker can work 160 per hours. Regular time hours available. B22. Okay. For the next one, to calculate the total hours available for production cell B27. Okay, yeah. This one must be summation of regular and overtime hours, B22 and B23. Total number of hours available equals summation of regular time and overtime hours available. Choose produce this, and for production capacity equals B27, total hours available, divided by B12, labor hours per choose. So now, inventory after production. Choose produced, production capacity, and we must add production capacity to choose produced, I think. Yeah, B4 plus B30. B4 plus B30. Initial inventory plus production capacity. Choose produced. So the inventory after production must meet the customer demands, so it must be bigger than or equal to the demand. This one must be less than or equal ending inventory. We must subtract the demand from inventory after production equals B34 minus forecasted demand, B36. for hiring cost per worker times number of workers hired. That equals hiring cost for E8 times number of workers hired, E18. And then copy. For the total, we use auto sum. For firing cost, we have to multiply workers fired by the cost of firing. B9 times firing cost times workers fired, B19. Regular time wages, B10 times B22, regular time hours available. B10 times regular time hours available, B22. And for the total, we can use auto sum. The same for this one. Equals summation of this format for overtime wages. We have B11 times overtime labor hours used, B23. B11, B23. B11 times B23. And then take the auto sum. Raw material cost. Raw material cost pair of shoes is $15. B13 times number of shoes produced, B30. And here we have summation of all these elements. Holding cost is B14 equals B14 times inventory after production or ending inventory, B37. Copy, and here is the summation of these four elements. Total is the auto sum of this one auto sum, and the total cost as this one. Let's see if these formulas are correct. Workers from previous month. C17. Workers from previous month. Maximum number of workers. Initial number of workers 100, and for month 2, workers available. In cell C17, copy it to the branch D17, E17. Must be 20. I hope this formula are correct. So now the constraints. Overtime labor hours used must be less than or equal to the maximum labor hours available. This is one constraint. Shoes produced must be less than or equal to the production capacity. This is the other constraint. Inventory after production must be bigger than the demand. And let's see if these constraints are correct. Inventory after production must be bigger than or equal to the forecasted demand. Forecasted demand. First, shoes produced must be less than the produced capacity. Next one. Overtime labor hours used. Maximum overtime hours. Yes. So now let's define name for these variables. Workers hired. We go to formula, create from selection. Workers fired. Overtime labor hours. Shoes produced. For the other variables, maximum total hours of production, create from selection, production capacity, uh, create from selection, inventory after production, create from selection, forecasted demand, and now we need to define our total. New total cost. And this is going to be the total cost. Here is a list of defined variables. And now we can go to Solver. Total cost is going to be the objective variable. We want to minimize it. Our decision variables. We have 4 decision variables. Workers hired, comma, workers fired, comma, over time, labor, underline hours, underline used, comma, shoes produced, underline produced. These are 4 decision variables, and now we need to define our constraints. First constraint is that overtime labor hours used must be less than the maximum overtime available. Overtime underline labor hours underline used should be less than or equal to the maximum underline overtime labor hours underline available. I hope I spelled everything correctly. The second constraint is that maximum overtime, let's see, inventory after production must be bigger than or equal to the forecasted demand. Inventory after production must be bigger than or equal to the demand. Demand, forecasted demand. Forecasted demand. What's wrong with it? Forecasted. Okay. Shoes produced must be less than or equal to the production capacity. Less than or equal to the production capacity. What's the other element? Inventory after production. Overtime labor hours must be less than or equal to the maximum labor hours used. And our workers hired and fired must be integer. Workers hired must be integer. Workers fired must be integer. Okay. Non-negativity constraint, and then simplex linear programming. Let's see what we get. It's a tough question. This is still working with, it's checking different values to come up with the optimal value for the cost. Sub problems. I'm not going to give you this kind of example in exam. Yeah. The key to solving this kind of problem is to identify the different elements of cost. This is still working. All right, that's how we solve this kind of problems. But as I said, I'm not going to give you any kind of this kind of question in exam. But yeah, this is an example of aggregate planning. I will upload this when this is done.
Okay. Going forward, we meet on Fridays instead of Wednesdays now?
Yeah.
Okay.
On Monday, I will meet with group 3. Yes, I guess, yeah. Yeah, because of the exam, our schedule shifted forward.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is still working. All right, I will upload it in box. And if you have any questions, please let me know.
All right.
During your exams, whenever you have any question or something, I'm available in my virtual room. So your friends join and ask me, and I will help you to figure out the questions.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, sure. Have a good weekend.
Thank you too.